Hello, Empowered Woman. Welcome to this episode of the Empowered Woman podcast. Today, I'm going to be asking you lots of questions and encouraging you to reflect. What would you do if you knew you were loved? What would you do if you knew you couldn't mess it up? What would you do if you knew every decision you make is going to take you further in fulfilling your purpose? I'll be sharing my breakthroughs from an intentional slow month in July, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks of a break from social media, and finishing a 5-month coaching program that taught me so much about myself and my purpose. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal growth, visibility, and profit for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to start believing in yourself, giving yourself permission to succeed, and let your voice be heard to make an impact in the world as an entrepreneur, this is the place for you. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. As I'm recording this, I am finishing an experiment that I've been wanting to try for a very long time, and I just could never bring myself to, but it was intentional. So a few months ago, I forget when exactly it was, we booked 2 trips for July, and I decided that it was going to be a month where I slowed way down, like more than I've ever had. Not worrying about income or what I was going to do, just trusting and taking the time off and being extremely present. Well, you may remember that in my last solo episode, with July also came an unexpected surgery that really forced me to slow down more than I had anticipated, because it was 2 weeks of slowing down, but still doing things in between those 2 weeks, because it was the first and last week of July. And then with surgery, I had to cut down way back on things because I was in pain, because I couldn't drive and go to networking meetings and all of that. And I wanted to report back as I am finishing off what then turned into 2 full weeks of a break from social media, which was not really computed in my original plan. But then with everything happening, I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And a lot of this, by the way, was inspired by an interview that I did that I am thinking of releasing next week with Stephanie Gass, when she talks about how she intentionally removed her business from social media to a certain extent and did 30 days experiments here and there, deleting the applications and seeing where it took her and seeing that her business actually thrived. So I was like, no, I can do this. I can do this, especially after this conversation. And so I wanted to give you somewhat of a debrief and recap. But in coinciding with the end of this experiment, the end of this month of a break, plus these 2 weeks, I'm also finishing the 5-month course that I've been taking called the Manifestation Babe Academy, which I already have talked about with Catherine Zenkina, the Manifestation Babe. And so as I was finishing my very last workbook yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to share more on the podcast, because I had yet more breakthroughs. But let me backtrack even more by saying that a lot of what I'm experiencing this year started late last year. I experienced huge growth in the second half of 2021. 2021 was a year of growth, period. But in the last half, from the moment I made the decision that I was going to publish my book, things started opening up for me in terms of me understanding what my focus was going to be in the business and getting to see the impact that I was creating and having huge income growth. It was in September of last year that I had my first 10K launch. So many things started happening, and it was almost as if myself internally wasn't really keeping up with what was happening outside of me. It was like many things that I had been wanting were finally happening, and I was still not feeling fulfilled inside. And I was wondering what is wrong with me. And I remember in December or late November of last year, I had this Kabbalah reading. It was such a freak, crazy thing. I reconnected with my English teacher from back when I was 10 years old in Brazil. So this is how it happened, and I think it's important for me to tell you these details because so often in life, we think things are just a coincidence. And more, especially this year, I've been seeing that there are no coincidences and things are happening exactly when they're supposed to happen for a purpose. And so my husband was working. I took the kids to IHOP on a weekend because it's like, let's get out of the house and do something. And as we were in the lobby waiting to be called to get a table, I start hearing Elton John's song, Candle in the Wind, which is the song that he wrote for Princess Diana. I don't know if you remember the song. And I remembered sitting in English class going through the lyrics of the song with this teacher who was a very dear teacher to my heart. I had lessons with her, I want to say, I don't know, at least for 6 years, if not more. And I remember having a really good connection with her. She was the one person that recognized firsthand that I had a really good skill and ear for English, and she would always call me this brilliant student and that I had a gift. And I remembered her and I was like, man, I wonder if I can find her on social media and reconnect with her and just, see what she's up to. I find her and realize that on top of teaching English, she's also teaching the Enneagram, doing extensive content on helping people with the Enneagram. So I reach out and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm in the process of publishing my book and it's going to be talking about the Enneagram. We meet on Zoom, we talk, and she says, well, you need to have a session with my boyfriend who does Kabbalah readings, and he's really into personal development, personal growth, just like we are. And then I told her, yeah, I'm about to turn 35. And she said, oh, I know that's a big year, numerologically or whatever. You should really have a session with him before you turn 35, so he will give you some insight on what the next year and the next few years are going to bring. So I had the session with this guy, and it was incredible, all the different things that he told me about myself that I have known but that were confirmed. And one of the main things that he said had to do with my marriage. And if you've read my book, you know that I share in my book that it was a really hard time for me when it came to marrying and leaving Brazil and coming to the U.S. because there were people in the church that told me my husband Shane was not the right person for me. And that was the biggest conflict I had ever experienced in my entire life, because growing up in church, learning that, you can listen to God, you can spend time by yourself and have this close relationship with God, I was very confused to the fact that I wouldn't know myself who the right person was for me, and that marrying the wrong person, quote unquote, could ruin the rest of my life. So when I had that session with that guy and he told me that I was supposed to marry this person, that this marriage is extremely spiritual, that both of us benefit from it by learning things about ourselves that we wouldn't have otherwise, everything made sense. I started crying and I told him, I was like, this is crazy, because I really believe that for the last 11 years, which is now 12 years that we've been married, plus more, it's actually been 17 since we met, because we met in 2005. I had been carrying this guilt, and I may cry in this episode, just quick disclaimer. I've been carrying this guilt that I was doing something wrong, that I had picked the wrong person for me, and that I had ruined my life, And then I have triplets, and it's like, well, what if none of this was meant to be? I was carrying that with me, you guys, for so long. And throughout this year, and I'll get to that, the idea of guilt, especially when it comes to religion, induced guilt and condemnation, has been coming up a lot for me, with people telling me that I am highly intuitive and that I don't have a worthiness issue. And so many times in this coaching journey, you have people telling you the reason why things aren't growing, the reason why you're not receiving what you're wanting is because you think you're not worthy. And then I have these people telling me, Marta, you don't have a worthiness issue, especially when we look at your chart, at your human design chart, based on your defined centers. Because I have both a defined G center and a defined heart, which means I do not have worthiness issues. So anything that is pointing towards that has a lot to do with conditioning. And then again, with my upbringing, conditioning from religion, from church, thinking that I am this sinner that has no hope. But on the same hand, a lot of from what I have gotten from my Christian upbringing, and I talked about this in my book as well, is that Jesus made the way. Jesus already did it all. So regardless of who I was in the past, I am not that person anymore, or when I was first born, whatever, because I have a new nature. And so if I truly believe that I am a daughter of the King and that I am worthy now because he has made me worthy, then I am able to receive everything that I need and I lack nothing. So what is it that's holding me back? What is it that's holding me back from, a 7-figure business, from something even bigger? Granted, at the same time, I'm achieving all these things, but I still feel this incompatible feeling inside of me. Do you follow? So I am achieving all these things. And on the outside, people may think, well, Marta, you're super successful. In fact, many people call me successful. And at times, that makes me cringe because it's like, you don't know the behind the scenes. And I'm always sharing the behind the scenes. So it's been this conflict inside of me that it's like, borderline imposter syndrome, that I really have not achieved all that much. This is all a waste of my time. And now I see that a lot of it has been rooted in the fact that for the last several years, over a decade, I have been feeling like I've been disapproved of, like I have been doing wrong, like I have been missing the mark, like I have been not acing my test of life, okay? So I have this call with this guy, he tells me this. And then I remember I had bought a personalized RTT session with my mentor, Gabby Abrams. And when she asked me, what do you want to work on? Because then we do the session together and she records it in real time and then I get to listen to that. I said, I want something around self-trust. I want to know that I'm making the right decisions because, and this is how the whole marriage thing comes back into play, I was carrying that guilt that I didn't even know how to pick my husband, meaning every other thing that I would decide, I would always second guess myself and I need to hire this coach and buy this course and talk to this person and always be afraid that I wasn't making the right decision. Like I decided to launch this program. It didn't go as well as I wanted. Well, it's because I should have done something else. And it was never good enough. And I was always mad at myself. Always so freaking hard on myself. Okay? So then, end of 2021, I come across this ad for Manifestation Babe for a program that she runs at the end of the year for you to kind of set intentions for the new year, which is called Epically Aligned. I had seen her stuff over and over again, and I was never really drawn to it because of the whole woo of it, And I was like, it was, I think, $300 some dollars, or maybe it was $200. I don't know. It was something really affordable, and I was like, I'm willing to try something about her, especially as I prepare for the new year and I'm feeling a little lost. So I take her course, and obviously she's hinting at her bigger program, saying I'm going to be opening doors in a couple of months to the Manifestation Babe Academy. And I was like, man, I really enjoyed this. I really like how she guided you through setting intentions and setting yourself up for an amazing next year. So maybe I want to take this course. A few weeks after the thing was done, she says, before we open the doors to this program, I am going to be sending you out an email for a BIPOC scholarship. And if you qualify, if you're identify as BIPOC, you can apply. And as soon as I got that email, I was like, oh my gosh, I am going to get the scholarship and I'm going to take this course because it's a $3,000 course and it's a 5-month thing. And I thought, if anything, I want 2022 to be the year where I focus on my inner growth. I don't care about how much money I'm making because clearly as things are advancing, I still don't, my insides, my mindset, my feelings are not catching up and I don't know what to do with this. I want to be able to enjoy the things that I'm achieving instead of constantly beating myself up saying I need to be farther ahead and I'm making the wrong decisions all the time. This inner conflict is killing me and I can't go on like this. So I decided that 2022, I wasn't going to invest in any kind of like strategy coaching. Make more money, grow your business. I don't care. I want to focus on my purpose, and that comes from inside of myself. So When the time rolls around to apply to the scholarship, I click the link doesn't work, and I'm like, man, maybe it's not the time. Maybe I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and invest in this program. Then I email the team and I say, hey, this is not working, but the deadline is still tomorrow. They say, no, it should be working now. I apply, and then I'm thinking maybe I'm not going to get it, but I was checking my email every day. And then finally I get the email that I got the freaking scholarship. And I was like, well, but she rewards lots of people with this thing. Then I see in a live video, as part of her launch, I awarded 111 scholarships and 1,300 people applied. And I'm like, oh no, Marta, you were meant to receive this thing. So time and time again, I'm looking for answers, signs to show me that I'm doing the right thing, or to release me from this freaking guilt that I had made a wrong decision years ago with my life that has affected what I'm doing. And mind you, I love my husband. I love my life. Everything is going fine. But especially subconsciously, this had been bothering me, and it had been affecting me. So I get this freaking scholarship. I start this program. And before really diving into the content, she has you record a video about the intention that you want to set, why you decided to start this program. She has you write a letter to your future self and a letter of intention before you begin the program, pretty much writing down what you already said in the video. Well, my friends, this was March 14th when I did that. And then I go on to do my TEDx, like all these amazing things have happened in the span of these 5 months. And this week, I print out the very last workbook, and she has you reflect on your answers to the very first module. She has you go back and watch the video. What were your intentions? How are you different? How have things changed? What are the things you've manifested? Yada, 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 yada. And I gotta say, before I went into any of this, that fear inside of me already started. What if I go back and nothing's changed? What if I go back and watch and read and realize that I really didn't accomplish anything? Legit, I started thinking that. And again, those same things replaying in my head of, I've missed the mark. I didn't ace the test. I've made bad decisions. I've wasted the last 5 months. Oh my gosh. Again, that same feeling, except I've gone through this whole process of journaling so much in the last 5 months because of the program, of doing so many different kinds of hypnosis and meditations and all kinds of things. So as I read the letters, as I watch the video, as I'm writing what has changed, what are the 3 main things that you've learned about yourself, I get in tears because I finally realize that this entire time, my biggest fear, and that's something else that, in many coaching programs, people ask, what is your biggest fear? Fear of failure, fear of disappointment, blah, blah, blah. Fear of rejection. I realize that my biggest fear for the last several years has been that God has been mad at me, that God has been shaking his head. Marta, you made a mistake. That he has been disapproving of me, and at any point, he's coming from around the corner to spank me, to scold me, to grade me, to give me a big fat 0, to write a huge big fat red X on my decisions and the things that I've done with my life. And with all the work that I've done, I know that this is all a lie. I know that God loves me. I know that I am fully supported, that everything has been working out exactly how it's supposed to be, that I lack nothing, that everything that I want is always coming my way, that everything I desire I always deserve, that I don't have a worthiness issue. So this entire time, I've been keeping myself from fully enjoying my life, my achievements, because of something that's happened years ago that I haven't been able to pinpoint. But once I opened myself up by saying I want to understand why this is not catching up with me, how am I blocking myself? And it's been a journey that started, I want to say, in November of last year. And here we are, August 5th, 2022. And I had this huge breakthrough. And so and I want to share more details in a minute, but let me stop and say, what does this mean to me, Marta? Because thanks for sharing your stuff, but we are just so hard on ourselves. And that's not to say you're doing exactly what I'm doing to myself, but oftentimes when we're thinking, while I'm behind, while I'm doing wrong by my family, right? Or even by God, like in my case, in reality, you are the one putting that pressure on yourself. You are the one keeping yourself from dreaming and reaching higher because you're already mad at yourself for not getting there. This is what I understood, is that the infamous "I'm the only one keeping myself from what I want" is so true, because you're the one preventing yourself from even dreaming, because you're already telling yourself it's never going to happen, so why am I wasting my time? And then you beat yourself up for not reaching it, when you're the one telling yourself you can't do it. And then even when you do reach it, you can't enjoy it because it's not good enough. Let's move on to the next thing. So I want you to reflect on this, because a lot of the reason why we feel jaded with life is because we feel like we're not going to accomplish it. And then when we do accomplish it, we tell ourselves the timeline was not as good as it could have been. So it's kind of like that parent. We are being that awful parent to ourselves. The parent that says, well, it wasn't good enough. You missed a spot. You are doing that to yourself, and you can control that, and you can stop that. So in whatever area that you feel like you're missing the mark, like you're being a bad mom, like you're being a terrible wife, like you're not advancing good enough, I want you to understand that you are doing this to yourself. You are the one telling yourself that. Even if somebody else is, it doesn't matter, because they're not you. And you can't control what they say, but you can control how you feel about it. So I want you to pay close attention to that, and then open yourself up to really seeing how you're doing this, so that you can have the same breakthrough and revelation that I've had, and keeping in mind that it may not happen tomorrow. That just keeping yourself open is going to allow you to little by little unpeel these layers, and then maybe 5, 6, 7 months from now, you're going to be able to see how you've been stopping yourself, and that you have been doing this all along, and that there is hope, and that there is something like a switch that can be flipped, and things can open up and change. And so what I wanted to read to you is, I went back because there's several different little assessments that you have to do in the program. And this is what I wrote on March 14th when she asked, "What do you believe you are here to learn?" And I said, "I'm here to solidify what I was brought up to believe now that I have more life experience and have gone through life's challenges. I'm here to reconcile my relationship with the Most High and know He's never left me. This was the journey I needed to experience, and I am at the right place at the right time." And I can tell you, so when she asks, what is the number one thing that needed to happen for you to be mind blown by this program? And my answer was reconnecting with God, knowing that I'm on the right path, knowing that I am at the right place at the right time. And now when I look at this, I realize this is what's happened. I've really come to understand that I haven't made a mistake, that God hasn't been mad at me, that I am at the right place at the right time, and that the more I understand, embody, and live the truth that God loves me, that I am loved, that people see my worth, the more I can see that worth and express it. So this is the hugest transformation that I experienced this entire time. And there were some other things that I wrote. I forget here. I was going to pull up. But she has you write down all the amazing things that happened this year, the best things. And I couldn't even fit everything in the page. I could have gone on and on and on and on. And that's the power of gratitude. And the reason why I decided to do all of this was because, let me backtrack even a little bit more, is while I was traveling, so we went to Cancun, and I'll be sharing more on that next week when I'm back on social media, I decided that I was going to be sharing some prompts and stories because I was going to be gone, but I wanted to repurpose some of my content and connect with my mailing list since I wasn't going to be active on social media. And I was so surprised to see many people responded to my emails, which was really fun. And so I started sharing these prompts. And for this week, as I was finishing up the prompts, I talked about, one of the prompts was, what is something that you're endlessly curious about and that you've been Googling a lot about? And for me, it's been different things related to my birth chart, right? Numerology, human design, all the things. And then I said, you know what? I'll record a podcast episode talking more about this. And then this turned out to be the episode where I'm not only talking about, the human design thing, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but as I was finishing Manifestation Babe Academy, I was like, I need to share all these realizations. And so I wanted to tap into a little bit of human design because I've talked about this before in the show. I remember in the latest episode, solo episode, I said, I need to bring in some expert here to talk to us a little bit more. But before we do that, let me just share with you what I have learned, because there's so many layers to human design and it can feel very confusing. But after doing so many courses, and Manifestation Babe Academy does touch on human design, I feel like I have been understanding it at a deeper level for me. And then being able even to share that with clients and encourage people to look into it further. But basically, there are different energy types. So you have generators, projectors, reflectors, manifestors, and manifesting generators. And then you have strategies for each of those types, right? So for generators, it's to respond. For projectors, it's to wait for the invitation. For manifestors, it's to inform. And reflectors, I believe it's to wait 28 days to act because it's based on the moon cycles. Then you have the authority, which can be a sacral authority, an emotional authority, a splenic authority. There are different types of authority based on the chart, and you have all the different centers. And you also have your cognition, which I believe it's like feeling. There are different ones. Oh, smell, touch, visualizing. I forget what it is. There are different cognitions. And also, you can determine based on your chart if you are a specific or a non-specific manifestor, and if you're a passive or an active manifestor. So these are several different aspects of human design. Plus, when you look at your chart, you can see if your centers are open or closed, and that has specific meaning. And then you have several different numbers within each of those centers, which are called gates. And then you can see if those gates are activated, what they mean for you. And they are in relationship with different planets. So it's crazy. There are so many different layers to it. And for a long time, it's so interesting and fun to be researching all of this. But I have had a hard time understanding, okay, how does this apply to how I make decisions? Because this is ultimately what I want to know, especially with my conundrum of, my gosh, I want to know that I'm on the right path. So all that stuff is super helpful, but I want to focus on specifically the combination of type, strategy, authority, cognition, and being specific or non-specific, passive or active manifestor. Because ultimately, these are the things that Catherine focuses on in the course that have extremely, extremely blah, blah, super helpful to me. Because this is one of the things that she asks, like, how are you going to embody your inner manifestor? How are you going to use this information to manifest more and more? And then in looking back at all the things that I have accomplished, especially during the program in the last 5 months, I have been seeing that I can finally say, friends, I have been embodying and using my human design. And this is what I understand, that I understood more, is that there is a way for you to operate that flows with how you were designed as a person and as a human being from birth. So this is what it means to be in alignment. So many times people talk about you're out of alignment. That's why your business is not growing. You're out of alignment. That's why you don't feel fulfilled. But in alignment to what? How do I figure out what is so that I can pinpoint if what I'm doing is in alignment and out of alignment? And I found in human design this answer. Because if my human design, when you look at the chart, says that This comes easily to me. This is a little bit more of a challenge. This is more conditioning. I can then look at what I'm doing and compare and be like, oh, that's why this is not working, because clearly it's not compatible to what my design is. Does this make sense? Like light bulb moment right there. Oh, this is what being in alignment or in misalignment means. And so then, by understanding that I am a sacral generator, meaning I am highly intuitive, because generators depend a lot on their intuition to know if it's a yes or a no. And being sacral, it takes it up a notch that instantly when you come up to decisions, you are meant to know, meaning myself as a sacral generator. I'm meant to know if it's a yes or a no. And I've been having conversations with a friend who has an emotional authority. She's not meant to know right away, because people that have emotional authorities go through emotional waves. So they need to wait a little bit until they make a decision. That is not me. See how that's so different? And that's why at times you may get advice from people and it doesn't work out for you, because that's not how your design is and you don't know that. And you may get frustrated in life because of it. Okay, so, and then my authority being that I am sacral, so I already said that. My cognition being that I'm a feeler, that is my feelings, which goes hand in hand with me being a non-specific manifester. I don't like details. It's hard for me to, imagine now what your life is going to be like and what clothes are you wearing. And that's why I've never really resonated with the whole avatar thing. What is her name? What magazine does she read? And it makes so much sense when it comes to my design, because I'm not a details person. I'm a non-specific manifester. I love having surprises, unexpected things, because I don't get caught up in details. This is not how I operate. So this is when I understood all of this about myself, and also being a passive manifester, which is my case, is that I don't necessarily, want to be 100% involved in the details of the process of things happening. I want to do my part and know that God's taking care of the rest and be done with it. But this is me. This may not be you. But I have come to be in so much peace with how I operate, because now I understand that this is how I operate. Things are making so much sense. And so finally, my ultimate realization with looking at my human design and understanding that I have been making the right decision, because all of these different people, all of these different signs, all of these different things have pointed to telling me, Marta, stop being so hard on yourself, because God's not being hard on yourself. People are not being hard on yourself. It's you doing this job, and you get to stop if you want to. I finally came to the realization that I can't go wrong if I welcome fun surprises, detach from the outcome, trust that all that's amazing is always on its way to me, and just enjoy the journey. Because ultimately, this is what I'm here to do. This is what we're all here to do, by the way. It's enjoy every single time, taking all these experiences in without beating ourselves up so hard. And ultimately, knowing that we are loved, that we can't go wrong. So imagine how would you show up every single day if you knew that you can't go wrong, if you knew that people will love you for the decisions that you make, that you're not going to be scolded, that you're not going to be graded, that you're not going to be spanked if you make a choice that somebody is unhappy with, because ultimately you are the one being the judge of yourself. And this is what I wanted to share with you today. And before recording this, imposter syndrome came right in, and it was like, nobody cares, Marta, this is your own personal journey. But I've done so many surveys in the show countless times, and people say that the episodes that they enjoy the most are not the interviews, are not the testimonials with clients. They are the coaching episodes that I have solo. So I was like, I'm going to put this out there because this is going to encourage somebody that's been beating themselves up for way too long, possibly over a decade like I had, and are ready to really see that they are at the right place at the right time, that there are so many amazing resources out there to help them with this path. And so I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have finished this program and to see all the transformation that I have gone through. And one last thing before I close off the episode, and I'll be sharing more on this next week, is that I am coming out with a new offer that goes hand in hand with all these realizations. It's the very first time I do something like this. I'm calling it a Pick My Brain with Integrity offer, which is basically like a Voxer offer. So it's a way to work one-on-one with me and pick my brain and ask questions and have us talk and go back and forth. I'm calling it a VIP support offer where we just exchange messages, and I have office hours where I respond to your messages and we can work on anything. It could be mindset, it could be strategy, it could be you sending me a sales page and I'm giving you feedback. It could be us working on a pitch for you to get onto TV, us working on an application for TEDx, us working on your upcoming book, on your marketing strategy, any freaking thing. And for so long, I may have thought that I wasn't qualified to do this, but I have so much knowledge, so much experience, and I am kicking all the guilt and all of the worthiness issues to the curb because I clearly know I don't have them. I am extremely qualified to give you advice and to help you brainstorm to advance in your business and in your life. So if you're interested in my Pick Your Brain with Integrity offer, meaning you can ask me anything and not think that you're bothering me, then go ahead and check out the link in the show notes. I am so excited for this offer. I already have 2 ladies that have taken me up on it ever since I launched it 5 days ago inside my membership, the Empowered Woman School. So if you're interested in checking it out, click the link in the show notes and snag your spots. Spots are limited, obviously. And I hope this helps you. So if this resonated with you in any capacity, shoot me a message or share this episode on social, tag me, and let me know if you're ready to move on forward, trusting yourself more than ever, knowing that you are loved and knowing that you are here and you're going to fulfill your purpose and you cannot mess it up. You can't mess it up. Thank you so much for tuning in today. As usual, I hope this encouraged the freaking heck out of you because I am so lit up. I am so encouraged. And yes, my friend, just remind yourself you can't mess it up. You're right where you're supposed to be. Connect with me on social. Let me know what you thought of this and take me up on my VIP support offer and let's get to working one-on-one together. Until next time, bye.